Yeah, log in with your credentials, right?
All right. Good evening, everyone. Appreciate you making it out here tonight. Thank you for your patience. We had a closed session right before this, and we had a lot of important business to wrap up before coming out here tonight. With that, it's my honor to call the Monday, March 10th, 2025 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We're going to begin with an invocation given by Commissioner Cheatham, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I ask that you stand if you can, please.
We often speak of time as linear. We can plot events on a timeline. We quote the old adage, time marches forward. This past weekend, we moved the clocks ahead, another reminder of time being a straight line. Those of us who have a lifelong commitment to trying to make the world a little better, more just, more fair, will sometimes quote Martin Luther King Jr., "The arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice." Again, referring to a line, albeit a bending one. And yet there are so many ways in which time is cyclical. Every year, your birthday comes around again. We have seasons of winter, spring, summer, and fall. Farmers have cycles of planting and sowing. Parents, students, and teachers have the school year with a fall start and summer break. Fashion trends return, for better or worse. So what does it mean to have a cyclical outlook on time? It means that even if it seems we're going backwards, it is still forward motion overall. It means there is likely somebody somewhere who has already lived through what you are experiencing, who can share insights and shed light. It means we can apply lessons from the past. But it also means that there can be a new and better outcome. As over time we go around and around in a series of cycles, the universe is maybe not so much the arc of a line, but it is in fact more like a slinky, the metal spring-like toy that if placed correctly can bend and actually walk downstairs on its own. As city leaders here, we take time to learn about the different issues the city faces and the issues that come before us at this table. Many of these topics also reflect a cycle. We honor and cherish our old growth trees, and we also plant saplings, which will one day grow big and tall and shade our grandchildren, who will plant trees for their grandchildren. Just over 100 years ago, our landscape changed with the invention of the car and its mass production. Old trails became paved roads. Today, as we recognize the environmental and health impacts of cars, we transform our environment once again so people can easily bike or walk to the places they go. We invest in educating our children so they will become the decision makers who will respond to emerging needs. And so the spiral of the slinky goes around and around, and we take the lessons of the past to build a better future, and we move forward. May it be so.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful and insightful evocation, Commissioner Dr. Cheatham. Now you got my brain thinking about worm theory and all the physical science applications to the important points you made. So up next on tonight's agenda, we have a report of foreclosure prevention Oakland County given by someone who I respect dearly, Treasurer Robert Wittenberg.
I appreciate that, and the feeling's mutual. For all of you, this is a wonderful community. It's nice to see some familiar faces and a familiar face that joined you here. Joe, congratulations. So it's that time of year again that I'm coming around and trying to get to as many communities as possible to try to prevent foreclosure. So what I'll talk about in this presentation is kind of generally about the foreclosure process and timeline, and then also this year I'm coming with Royal Oak specific data to go over. So I know last year there were some of you who had reached out, I forget who it was, with looking at some information, and so hopefully this will help. And then I can answer any questions you have afterwards. So, and I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. So my lovely assistant over here, yep. So this, and we'll go through this quickly. We don't even have to talk about anything on this page, but just talks about all the work that goes on in our office, because we are in charge of collecting, dispersing, investing, at the local level you have it, but also at the county level, dog licenses. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're doing in our office. So I won't go into all of it, but it just gives you a rundown of some of the things we're working on. We can go to the next slide, which I think will get us to, okay. So I've talked about this in the past. Foreclosure process is a 3-year process. So now that we are in 2025, anyone that owes 2022 and prior years taxes is subject to foreclosure. So what we're doing and what I'm doing is trying to get out to get as many people to understand and be aware that the foreclosure deadline is March 31st for anyone that owes 2022 and prior years taxes. Each year is kind of independent of every other year. So if they owe 21s and not 22s, or they owe 21s and 22s, right? They're subject to foreclosure for all those different years. What happens is on the first year, the taxes, if you don't pay them, so for instance here in Royal Oak, if people don't pay their taxes to Royal Oak, they get turned over to the county to become, in essence, the collection agent for those delinquent taxes. We cash flow the local community so that you all can continue to operate with that money. And so, for example, this year, 2024 taxes, if people didn't pay their summer or their winter taxes, it was turned over to our office on March 1st. So that's also for people that are watching at home and here. If you didn't pay your 2024 taxes yet, you cannot do it at Royal Oak. You need to reach out to our office. So this kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like. And then again, I'll talk specifically about Royal Oak, but that 3-year process. So this is delinquent 2021 property taxes. So this would have been 2024 foreclosure. So just to give you an idea, so 41,000 parcels were turned over delinquent. So those came over to us from the 2021 taxes in 2022. That number down there, 39,000, is properties with delinquent taxes that ultimately paid them in full. So they paid them once they came over to our office. They never got to the foreclosure. The 1637 is taxpayer repayment plans. So that's us speaking to people directly or someone that we've already had a plan in place, but re-upping that plan. The foreclosed properties ultimately was 244. We withheld 109, and they can be withheld for various reasons, including that we didn't follow, not that we didn't follow, that we didn't fulfill the requirement of notice or things like that, right? Or we find out that there's another owner when we do title search, those kind of things. So at the end, last year, we had 131 properties that were foreclosed. That was the second lowest number we've ever had in Oakland County. The lowest was the year prior. So it did tick up a little bit, but there were some other things that were going on that caused that. So our goal is to have zero. I mean, our goal would be to get to zero, although there are some instances, and you'll see most of the foreclosures that happen, especially here in Oakland County, are vacant land or vacant structures. So very few are actually structures where there's someone there inhabiting it. So we'll go to the next slide. So this is Royal Oak specifically. So this was, I think I have, so 23, and then the next one will be 24. Okay, so just to give you kind of historical information. So we'll go back though real quick. So I'll just run through it quickly. Oh, nope, yep, right there, thank you. We'll get in sync here, I promise. So this is like the delinquent, right? So you know here in Royal Oak, over 1,100 were turned over. Forfeited is the next year, right? That is when the county treasurer puts a lien on the property. And again, everything that we're doing is statutory. We all 83 counties do this. And so that's forfeited. And then there were 8 foreclosed properties in 2023. And then we'll go to the next slide. That number came down for delinquent parcels. The forfeited, again, that was in the next year. The foreclosed parcels, and then there's a land sale. So we are required by law to have a land sale. We do a virtual online land sale, so any property that is foreclosed, you can go online and bid on that. As I say, and I'll say it again, our goal in our office is to collect taxes. Our goal is not to foreclose. So we are doing everything we can, and that's why I'm out here trying to let people know that we are here to help. So that gives you an idea of here in Royal Oak. We'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so this is kind of hard to see for all of you, but this just gives you an idea of that timeline that we were talking about. So then year 1, it's turned over. Year 2 is the forfeiture. Year 3 is the foreclosure. During that time, interest is added. There are different fees that are added. It's all statutory. We have no control over that. People always ask us if we can lower their taxes or lower the interest or fees, and we have no ability to do that. So This also on the right talks about all the notifications. So before a foreclosure happens, we touch base with someone, I think it's over 12 times. They get first-class mail, they get certified mail, and they actually get 2 property visits. So like I said, we are out there, full court press, trying to let people know that we're here to help and try to prevent foreclosure. So I won't go into all the specifics there, but we'll go to the next slide. And again, I talked about the 3-year process. That March 31st is the deadline, so that is coming up in 21 days. So that's the timeline to pay your 2022 and prior taxes or enter a repayment agreement with us. So that is, you have to reach out to us and talk to one of our team members to get you on a repayment agreement. As I said, we're here to help, so reach out. We have those taxpayer census meetings. We also have within our office a financial empowerment center. So in essence, a financial coach that can help people see if there are resources available to them, help them with budgeting, help them with debt. So call us. The community outreach is ongoing. That's, again, me going out and speaking to as many communities as possible. There are 63 cities, villages, and townships in Oakland County, more than any other county in the state. I'm never going to get to all those during this time. And so in some of the communities, we sent a statement that they read telling people, again, that we're here to help. And then the foreclosure timeline. And then for everyone here, spread the word. If you know anyone that is behind on their taxes, please have them reach out to us. We don't know they need help unless they tell us they need help. And then the next page, and we're getting close to the end, so thank you for bearing with me here. Community resources, so that financial empowerment center within our office, you can call directly 248-858-0672. You can go on our website, oakgov.com/treasurer. Also, for people to be aware, there is a principal residence exemption for you to have if your property is your homestead, and that's something we try to walk through with people. There's also a poverty exemption, but that is something that you work with your assessor on, and you guys have your own assessor here, so it would be calling the Royal Oak specific assessor. And then in an organization that we have no affiliation with, but we refer people to because they do really great work, Lakeshore Legal Aid. It is a free legal clinic for low-income families and seniors. So their information's there, 888-783-8190, and lakeshorelegal.org. We'll go to the next slide. Just quickly, we're actually recording some videos that will help people understand. We get questions all the time about the assessment notice, about the tax timeline, things like that. So we should have those. We're in the editing phase, so that should be live hopefully sooner than later. So look out for those. That'll be on our website and probably on our social as well. So just FYI. And I think that's it. So try to get through that as quickly as I could. But I appreciate you giving me the time, and then I'll turn it to you if you do have any questions for me.
Questions for Treasurer Wittenberg? Commissioner Chisholm.
It's not a question, but it was Commissioner Hunt and I who reached out to you last year because we're, both very interested in issues around housing and homelessness in our community, and we just wanted to get a sense of whether taxes are really leading to homelessness in our community. And I have to say, I think it was 2024 was the year that you sent to us, and getting, from over 800 properties potentially going into foreclosure down to just 3 properties, and we even spoke about each of those 3 properties in those circumstances. And I was really struck by the success of this program. I'm really glad that you're coming out to the communities to talk to folks and really get the word out there, because I think we all agree we want to get that down to 0. But I just want to applaud your office for all the work that you're doing, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and most that we see that people that are contacting our office, usually, if you have a mortgage, then through your escrow account, they're going to pay the taxes, right? So a lot of times this is someone who the property was passed on from a parent or a grandparent, someone who paid it off and then got into a difficult financial situation, right? So mortgage foreclosure happens a lot quicker than a tax foreclosure, right? This is a 3-year timeline. Mortgage foreclosure happens in a much shorter time, but you have a little time to redeem the property. In tax foreclosure, you have that kind of long lead up, but once it's foreclosed, there is no redemption period. So that's why we're out here doing that. So I appreciate those kind words.
Any other questions? Commissioner Colo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you again for coming out, and I'll go to Commissioner Chisholm. thank you for all this work. This is amazing. The fact that we only have 3 is phenomenal. And I just want to say, if you have any stuff, any graphics, any information you want to leave us, I know we'd be more than happy to push this out. It's important. You know, we want Royal Oakers to stay here in Royal Oak. We want to find a way to help people. And your office is doing such a great job encouraging that. So thank you for being out here.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll send that over.
Yeah, I'll just add, great job. When you see the reports here year over year, clearly your office is doing the right things. You know, certainly it benefits the county in its entirety, but you can see the carve out for Royal Oak and how tragedy was averted for a great number of people that found themselves in trouble. The easy thing to do would be foreclose the property, get the money, process it, stamp it, be done. But you specifically and your team are out there knocking doors and getting people to enter into arrangements and working with them at whatever level, even giving them you know, access to legal advice if they need to fight the county on some things, because we want everyone to find justice, even if they are in a difficult situation. So I think it's really applaudable. I think it's a benchmark. And, you know, personally, even some of the things you've worked with in the city, for those of you who don't know, we had the tower on Woodward, the old Broussard advertisement, and people were interested in putting a very large billboard up there that would permanently illuminate the neighborhood. We're like, we're not really into that. And so then eventually the family didn't want it, nobody wanted it, and Mr. Wittenberg's office reached out to us and said, hey, we can do something here, as opposed to just, you know, letting it get into disrepair and into other hands as well. So a little bit of I mean, there's time associated with it, but, you know, we see good things from that. So I just want to thank you for the great relationship we have as a city with the Treasurer's Office and all the work you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm always here to help. And I actually, since I live just down the road from here, I actually am the one who visits the Royal Oak properties when we get to the very end, and I usually knock on the door and say, you know, what's going on? Can we help? So some of the neighbors might see me knocking on their door.
Well, great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks
Well,
for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Wittenberg.
Yep.
All right, that brings us to item 5 tonight, which is the approval of the agenda. Commissioner Macy? Motion by Commissioner Macy. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Colo. Discussion on the agenda. All right, with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, this brings us to number 6, which is public comment. A few comments before we commence. The City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to help make decisions. Now is the time set aside for the public to address the City Commission on any city-related issue, whether or not it's on the agenda. I ask that comments be directed to the City Commission as a whole and not to individual commissioners. The city has made it easier for you to request follow-up on an issue. Simply scan the QR code you see displayed or sign in with staff in the lobby at the meeting tonight before speaking at public comment. A lot of times people have real questions, not just rhetorical questions, and we honestly want to get back to you if we have an answer for you. If you wish to speak tonight at public comment, please wait until recognized by me, the mayor, then come up to the podium. For the record, you'll state your name and address. Please be mindful the City Commission wishes to hear from anyone who wants to speak tonight, so comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, not per topic, and we have a timer at the podium to help you keep track of your time. If you don't wish to speak tonight, no problem. You can submit your questions or concerns with the QR code, or even, you know, email us. All our email addresses are out there. And the sooner we get your comments before an issue, the better. That way we can think about them and have an exchange with you. Please note the commission, we don't typically respond to questions during public comment. However, we are writing those questions down, and when the topic is discussed, we will bring up those questions. If your topics or issues or questions aren't related to anything on tonight's agenda, our city staff are taking notes. And again, it's crucial that you leave your follow-up information so we can get you an answer. Any public comments the city commissioner or manager respond to post-meeting will utilize the contact information on the public comment sign-in, so please make sure to double-check your information for accuracy. All right, who's first? I see a gentleman in the hat with the kick draw.
Thank you for your time, Commission. Appreciate it. My name is Mike Brooks. I own the property here at 321 East 5th Street. It's a 3-bedroom multifamily unit built in 1940. It is originally built to be a multifamily unit and has continued to be such. I acquired the property 4 years ago and have made significant improvements on it, addressed here under one of the biggest, most beautiful trees here in Royal Oak. Can't miss it. So I'm here today in regards to a change in the rental property registration. There was a new terminology put into the ordinance regarding short-term rentals and the certificate of insurance evidencing that the owner has a $1 million or more liability insurance on the short-term rental property, which I do. Beyond that, however, I come here as an exemplar of small-time landlords here in Royal Oak. One of my units is a short-term rental, and it is covered, it is entirely through Airbnb, which is covered by their $1 million liability coverage per unit. In addition, I have my own policy on the building as well. Here is my, so I re-upped my rental registration application this year, and it was sent back to me with the city because of the wording needing the certificate of insurance. Airbnb actually does not supply that. They supply host liability insurance program summary, which I submitted with my application, but was sent back to me with, I believe I was advised that I needed to supply a declarations page, which Airbnb does not provide to their hosts. Given that there's over 1,000 Airbnb rentals in Royal Oak, I think I don't know if I'm the first here, but I know this is going to be an ongoing issue for landlords and hosts with property here in Airbnb. And I think most of them are kind of small-time landlords like me. I'm not a property developer. I've just got the one building. I have a lot of pride in it. I've taken very good care of it and improved it significantly. So I come before the commission asking if there's any way we could change this language, because I do have $1 million liability insurance on the unit. If I was to make another unit, that would have its own $1 million policy as well. I also have a master policy on the building, which goes above and beyond the Airbnb liability coverage. However, the language in the change in the ordinance makes it impossible for me to, although I am compliant, I'm not in compliance with the language right now. And my insurance company won't provide that because the building isn't worth that. So asking for your help. Thank you for your time. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Through the chair, sir, if you could just please, I'm the city manager, Joe Gaccio. If you could please just make sure to leave your contact information with the QR code.
I will. It wasn't out when I came in.
Gotcha. We'll follow up with you administratively. Thank you.
Yes.
Good evening. Trish Oliver, Royal Oak resident since 1986. Many people have come to city meetings and objected to the Sheetz mega gas station development proposed for the intersection of 14 Mile Road and Coolidge, giving many valid and diverse reasons. Yet the newspaper quoted Commissioner Woody Gontina as saying he objected to potential Sheetz customers being characterized as riffraff. Mayor Mike Fournier stated that objectors are slandering and creating a circus. And Commissioner Shar Douglas said that the fury seems out of proportion to the project. You can't cherry pick what one person said about Sheetz out of a packed room, which was after all their opinion and therefore valid, and use it to dismiss what everyone said. You are undermining the whole by picking out one person's comment that you disagree with and feel you can make a point against, and using it to dismiss the entire group of people who have come to speak to you. You're not giving the residents that you work for the respect that they deserve. After all, their tax money pays for all of this. You can't discount all of the people who have come forward with a lot of diverse thoughts and taken their time to speak with you. They're not professional politicians like you. They're not practicing public speaking either. A lot of people who come up here to speak are nervous, and because after all, they're only human. Instead of listening to the legitimate concerns that they have about their neighborhood and where they live, you're condescending to them. Do the right thing by Royal Oak residents. Follow in the footsteps of Wixom, Rochester Hills, Madison Heights, Farmington Hills, and Livonia, to name just a few nearby cities that have said no to Sheetz so far. Pick your reason why to say no, because there are many. The project is too big for the site. Traffic is already too heavy at this tricky dogleg intersection. This is a great project for a different location. Commissioner Woody Gantina agreed that rezoning the site to multifamily, especially for affordable housing, would be a better use, but claimed that you can't dictate what projects are proposed. However, the commissioner sidesteps the point that if you roll out the red carpet for non-conforming use projects, you've created a development climate in Royal Oak that signals to developers that they don't have to work harder to bring projects that will enhance rather than detract from the community. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Ashley.
Good evening. Alan Ashley. I'm president of Royal Oak Manor. I'm going to be against 8 and 9 on the agenda, the cannabis. The events that are discussed in here are family events. There is no business for the cannabis to be in family events. The other thing I like to mention that the police report for Arts, Beats, and Eats on page 111, John Witz states, and I'm quoting from the thing, Mr. Witz has also been in contact, this is the 4th paragraph if you want to look at it. Mr. Witz has also been in contact with businesses, apartment complexes, and tenants adjacent to the proposed cannabis area. He has indicated there is no opposition from any of these groups to again operate cannabis sales and consumption. I'm sorry, he lied. He has never talked to Royal Oak Manor. It is right across the street from us. This is lying to the police. I think right now, this thing for Arts, Beats, and Eats should be canceled and not allowed, and have the cannabis pulled out of Arts, Beats, and Eats. And he states that this is a money maker for the city. Problem is, everybody thinks Arts, Beats, and Eats is a 4-day event. It's a 10-day event. And it starts the minute that you close down parking lot P7, which is right across from Royal Oak Manor, and P3. Once those close down, businesses start dying slowly but surely. By the time Wednesday comes through, every business on Washington and Lafayette are empty. All the salons, all the restaurants. Those salon people are independent people. Though they rent those chairs. They need the customers to come in to cut their hair. They have to pay the owner of those salons money out of their pocket, and they keep whatever's left for those chairs. You have kids in college working in restaurants, trying to get money for college. Those kids no longer get money. It's 10 days. That's from the time they set up to the time they close it down. Those businesses lose a ton of money. This is why and you plan a lot of events on Washington and Lafayette. Every time you do, those businesses lose money, and that's why a lot of them are leaving. They can no longer take the loss of money during these times. This city has got to start working for the businesses and the families, which this city doesn't do. So again, Mr. Witz has lied to the police about who he sees to talk to. He has never talked to me or anybody at Royal Oak Manor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ashley. All right, who's next? Going once, going twice. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Gerard Mullen. My address is Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037. Tonight I'd like to talk about the Sheets project, which you folks will be voting on soon. On February 11th, at a Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission, excuse me, gave a positive recommendation to Sheets. In the Planning Division's memorandum dated January 31st to the Planning Commission, stated in reference to sheets, quote, based on the Engineering Division's comments, the Planning Commission may want to consider having the city's traffic consultant perform a peer review study prior to making a recommendation on the application to the City Commission. Instead, the Planning Commission ignored the memorandum and moved forward and recommended the Sheets application without prior peer review traffic study. Also, did the Planning Commission ignore the 9 criteria as recommended in the same memorandum? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Good evening to all of the elected officials and to the people that are in the auditorium. I think my husband made a very valid point in reading this memorandum. And I made some notes in reference to the traffic study. So the traffic study, and thank you, Brian Cooper, if you're watching this meeting, for making a big to-do about the traffic study. So when you talk about the peak hours for the traffic study you're talking about, and the study that Sheets did, it was basically 7 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m., saying that that the highest is the 2 hours between the 4 and 6, and I don't think that's true. I think that intersection is just constantly busy every day, all day, even including the weekends. So you talked about something as far as the traffic and the queuing. Have any of you ever went to that intersection and not seen cars caught at that intersection, and you sit there making a right turn from Coolidge going east, that you might have had to sit there for 2 or 3 lights? Now imagine putting a 10,615 square foot development between the Sheets gas station and the car wash. I don't think that you guys have been forthright to tell the residents that in addition to that development where you want the driveways at, that you're going to also put in a boulevard. And that boulevard is going to be separated by the inbound and the outbound lanes. Now, in your master plan, you say, let's narrow the 14-mile road going east and west. I can't imagine narrowing a boulevard, unless you're talking about going 500 or 600 feet off the road. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm going to be talking about this traffic study in detail tomorrow, up until the time you put this on your sheets. You put the Sheets project on your agenda. My husband was right. You were supposed to get a recommendation from your engineering department before you recommended taking this project to the city commissioners, which you are that body, and you didn't do that. So how can you have a policy or a recommendation from your own department and you not adhere to it? So voters, you're watching. Anybody that votes for this development, and this is not what you want in your community, you vote them out of office. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, who's next? Yes, Ms. Poprowski.
Nancy Poprowski. The term free market is coming up often. It used to be a way to describe a U.S. policy. Now I'm afraid it's used to justify getting approval for bad projects. Yes, in the U.S. we have a free market system, but please don't use that reason to justify voting yes when a development is very questionable. Due to its neighborhood location, traffic, safety, public safety, environmental safety, and possibility of wiping out numerous nearby businesses, Sheetz is that questionable project against most people's core values. Please vote no to Sheetz. A vote yes for Sheetz is a vote yes to a $14 billion corporation that donates to the current administration, that lacks the City Commission's democracy core values and ethics that are preached. If you believe in boycotting billion-dollar corporations that donate hundreds of thousands of dollars to the current administration, that lacks your said values. Could you please vote no to Sheetz? Thank you. Now I would like to share a timely story about my family. Very rarely did I see my grandpa wear a suit. He was a farmer. A farmer's most important business was taking care of the land so he could take care of and provide for his family and community. His heart and hands were big, and fingernails never manicured, just religiously scrubbed, but still looking stained from working in the dirt or oiling his tractor. He had a sincere handshake, thick with calluses from plowing sunup to sundown, a farmer sibling, husband, father, grandpa, and revered neighbor who welcomed you with a warm, robust hug that blanketed you in blue denim. His most important cabinet was not in the Oval Office. It was in a modest dining room full of canned fruits and vegetables that my grandma had fixed to feed her soulmate, 10 children, and all the kin thereafter. There was no such thing as her demanding a thank you. But letting her know she made the best biscuits and country ham made her face light up like a traveling firefly as she flew through the kitchen to get you seconds. Grandpa would go to town not wearing a suit, just wearing the sturdy fabric that made his country great again. Every day he tilled the land that produced the food that fed his family and community. Yes, that's what he did. He helped feed his neighbors, sometimes without getting paid back, if they had a battle or hard times, never expecting a thank you, just the good feeling that he helped someone in need. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, who's next? Going once. Going twice. All right, we're going to close public comment and bring the discussion back to this side of the table, which brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything off the consent agenda? Yes, Commissioner Herzog.
I would like to pull I, the resolution to support preservation of federal tax exemption of municipal bonds.
Okay. Anybody else? Commissioner Macy.
I'd like to pull K sub A. I don't know if I have to say that. K.
Okay. All right, anybody else? All right, we have the consent agenda as presented without I and K. Does anyone wish to make a motion to that effect? We have a motion by Commissioner Macy. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Chisholm. Discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, Commissioner Herzog? Aye.
Thank you. Can we start off by maybe Mr. Gaucho giving us a little history and background on this resolution?
Yeah, certainly, Commission. So in the early 20th century, the federal government chose to make tax-exempt bonds exempt for local governments and nonprofits, and specifically for local governments to encourage investment, because a tax-exempt bond allows someone who purchases the debt and loans the city money to fund infrastructure investments the benefit of not claiming any of their profits, and so then, or not having their profits taxed, and so that incentivizes the investment sector to really invest in local governments. And in lieu of that, it's much more difficult for local government to attract that kind of investment with such a low interest. So I can give you an example. Recently, I was reviewing some of our financial statements, and we issued debt in 2020. It was about $10 million at 2% interest rate on a tax-exempt bond. If that was a taxable bond, the market interest rate would have been about 5 or 6%. So broadly speaking, if I assume a 30-year debt repayment, your annual debt service roughly should be about $440,000. That goes up by about $500,000 if that's 5% interest payment. So there is a significant problem if the federal government chooses to go this route, because it would disincentivize local infrastructure, and in my view, it would rob us of more local control.
Great. Thank you so much. I thought that this was very important for us to uplift for our residents to understand what's happening. There are very few tools that we have to help make our city move forward and progress forward. And this is a vital tool for us to keep our community healthy and safe. So I thought it was just something that we should kind of discuss about the importance of having this. So thank you so much.
Commissioner Colo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just think it's important to highlight also this is going to our our federal delegation here in Michigan, because this is a federal issue. It is crazy how there's such chaos and turmoil in Washington, D.C., and the Department of Doge and all the cuts that we hear about every day. Stock market crashed 900 points again today. And this is a direct result of the administration, and the policies that they institute have an impact on us here locally. So this is going to impact residents all across Michigan, including Royal Oak. This is a park we can't build, a road we can't fix, services we can't offer, because we would potentially have to pay more.
Yep. That's a fair point. You know, the municipal bond market has been a safe investment for Americans and hedge funds and retirements forever. Without having to pay income tax, it makes them more desirable. And I think what transpires if you get rid of this is more expensive lending, which taxpayers ultimately pay for. You see crumbling of city services and a breakdown in the things that we value, everything from roads to sewer improvements to water main fixes to police and fire in some cases, as general funds become more and more stretched. So I don't know that this is something that will improve the quality of life of Americans, and I think we should put our recommendation forward because not only is it important to us in this room, I think municipalities deliver the fundamental backbone of services that everyday citizens rely on. So I'm in full support of this letter. All right, does anyone want to make a motion? Commissioner Herzog? All right, a motion by Commissioner Herzog. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Colo. Discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, Kay.
Just wondering if we could hear a little bit from Elena about this annual report.
Commission and Mayor. So 2024 was a successful year for the Commission for the Arts. They carried on their mission of promoting and encouraging the arts in Royal Oak. They had another successful season of the Public Piano Project, in which there were 8 pianos placed around the city, as well as the Share the Warmth project went very well. Lots of donated, handcrafted winter wear for people in need to take from the library. There were 5 art explored pieces selected by the CFA this past year, and it's looking like all 5 will continue to stick around for the upcoming year. We have a new artist laureate that was selected, a large-scale metal sculptor named Godofredo Ganode. We are in the process of picking out a placement for a new sculpture of his to go up, which is very exciting. Our previous artist laureate, Roberta Brown, is finishing up the last details for publishing her book of poetry that was created by some of the art commissioners as well as residents and visitors. The book will be titled Poetry Now Playing. and the bust of Elizabeth Hamer was completed at the Hamer Finch Wilkins Park, and a very nice unveiling ceremony of that occurred. And there were 4 new murals that were put up this past year. And the Commission for the Arts is planning on having another successful year ahead. So yeah, thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Brash? None? Oh, Commissioner Colo.
Thank you. I just want to mention, I want to thank you and the Commission for the Arts for all the hard work. This is great. You know, our city is more vibrant because of the arts. You know, that's just, it's one part of what makes the city great. I want to thank you in particular for the art installment at Peruche Park. Commissioner Peruche was near and dear to everyone at this table, and to a lot in the community. I know that that's a special piece, and it's a great way to continue to remember Pat and all that she did for arts in the city. So thank you.
Yeah, I believe that the artist that made that piece was one of her favorite artists, I heard, so it's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add, it's not just important where we live, it's important how we live. And experiencing the arts in all the different forms, from sight, sound, performance, poetry, really has added to the quality of life for a great number of people in this community. So the work of the commission, city staff that supports it can't be underestimated to the overall well-being and happiness of this community. Thank you to everyone that participates.
Thank you.
Commissioner Macy?
Move that we receive and file.
Okay, we have motion by Commissioner Macy. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Douglas. All right, discussion. All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right. Brings us to number 8, proposed amendment to special event 2025 Arts Beats and Eats. Chief Michael Moore.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Jonathan Witz and Associates is requesting to amend their Arts Beats and Eats special event permit to include a cannabis sales and consumption area in 2025. The organizer is requesting to duplicate the activation area in the same fashion as they have the last 2 years at the events. It will remain in the same alleyway, offer the same cannabis products, and utilize the same security company that has been in place the previous 2 years. Aside from several medical calls that were handled by the fire department, the consumption area didn't cause any additional strain on police resources last year or the preceding years. Overall, the police department remains neutral on this request that's before you this evening. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. I'll point out that Shannon Voita from John's team is here as well to answer questions and put on a presentation if you would like that as well. She's prepared to do that.
Any questions for Chief Moore? Commissioner Macy.
Thank you, Chief. So they also have the same odor mitigation system in place, is that right?
Yes, it's the same activation that has been in place the first 2 years, so it's the identical operation as previous.
Anybody else? Okay. Does anyone wish to hear from the petitioner, or this is sort of a, for all intents and purposes, it's a three-peat of what's been done the previous 2 times? Anyone wish to make a motion? Commissioner Douglas?
Yes, I move approval of the contract as proposed.
We got a motion by Commissioner Douglas. Is there a second?
I actually did have a question for the petitioner.
Oh.
I'll second that.
Yeah, we'll go around Robert's rules. Who's Robert anyways? Commissioner Colo seconds it. Okay, discussion. Commissioner Hunt, question for the petitioner?
Yes. Hi, hello. So I understand there were some medical issues that occurred at last year's consumption tent. What is being, or do you know what those medical emergencies were and what you're doing to get around those?
Correct, yes. So we had medical calls from, it's called a dab. It's a style of ingesting the cannabis, and we are not allowing those at the event this year. We had several individuals who passed out after taking them, so we are not allowing them at the event this year.
It's my understanding that they were free dabs last year.
Correct.
Is it that they won't be free this year, or they are not being offered at all?
They are not being offered at all.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. No question? No? Okay, thank you. All right, continued discussion. Commissioner Cheatham?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to speak, last year, you may recall, I voted against this motion. Many of you know that I have committed my career to public health, and I struggled with voting in favor of a situation where there would be smoking in public. So it wasn't the consumption that bothered me, but it was the smoking, having my field, my discipline, my passion, work for 20 years to get smoking out of public locations. I really struggled with that last year. During Arts Beats and Eats, I did go check out the tent. I wanted to see what I wanted to see if the air filtration systems, how they appeared to be working, the security process and all of that. And just doing some reflection on this, I recognize that this is an event that is a family event, but also by having the consumption tent, I think it gives people the opportunity to do to consume there and not throughout the festival. And so I think that helps for families. And so I just I am going to vote in favor of this, and I just thought I would articulate the reason for my change between last year and this year.
Mr. Hunt?
Well, similar to Commissioner Cheatham, I also voted against this last year. And like Commissioner Cheatham, last year and the year before, I did have an opportunity to see the tent. It was really inconspicuous. You couldn't tell it was there if you weren't looking for it. I think Arts Beats and Eats team does a great job of making certain that the air filtration system is working. It looks like any issues that they have, they figure out how to correct those issues. My concern also is the fact that this is a family event and that is promoted as a family event. But again, this isn't anything that you can see or know that is there unless you're looking for it. So I will be in support this year.
Yeah, I'll just add, when this first came across our table earlier on, it was a no for now. It was too much. Didn't have a lot of confidence that we understood where the market was going. I've been real conservative on the consumption of marijuana, the sale of marijuana in our community, things of that nature, being a little bit more, let's see how it works for other folks before we jump in. But similar comments to my colleagues, the last 2 years I kind of forgot it was there. My big concern was this is not the highlight of the festival. It is a thing just like Fork in Nigeria isn't the highlight of the festival. It was really good. And for my family, we love to always stop and eat there at their truck or their booth. And so I think this is, an option for people. Maybe it's not my cup of tea, but nonetheless, what Commissioner Cheatham said, hey, it's a place for people to go. And if they need to consume, they can do it in that organized area versus having, thousands of people potentially just consuming it throughout the festival, and that is a little bit more of a unorganized chaos. So I think it's a good compromise, and it's worked out well the last couple of years with some adjustments, of course. Commissioner Douglas.
Yes, well, it is a family event, isn't it? It is an event that throughout its history has served another controlled substance, alcohol, openly throughout the grounds. And as others have reported here, the consumption area is very discreet, very well policed, and both standing outside and standing inside where there are people consuming marijuana, you can't smell it at all. I've been consistently supported this from day one, even in the first year when we did not approve it, and so I'm lending my support here as well.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we do have a motion on the table. We went a little bit, because my right eye is sometimes a little lazy. I couldn't catch Commissioner Hunt's hand there, but I think we're good. Motion's on the table. Everyone understands it. All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. All right. Chief Moore, proposed amendment, special event permit 2025 Taco Fest.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Jonathan Whitson Associates is requesting to amend the Taco Fest special event permit to include a cannabis sales and consumption area for 2025. The consumption area will be located in the same parking lot as last year, which is 3rd and Williams Street, adjacent to the WROK on 3rd. The activation area will be operated the exact same way as it was last year at Taco Fest, including the same security company, which is also the same security company in place for Arts Beats and Eats at their activation. area. The cannabis partner for this event continues to be JARS. They were there last year and they will continue to be there this year. As was mentioned earlier, during Saturday of last year's event, JARS was offering complimentary, highly concentrated marijuana extracts, known as dabs, to their customers. The concentration level was creating the medical emergencies, and once that was identified, it was quickly remedied by the organizer and the cannabis sponsor. And that was really the only significant impact to law enforcement at this event. So overall, the police department remains neutral on this request. And again, Shannon is here. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take questions as well.
All right, questions for Chief Moore first. Mr. Colwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Chief, I just want to be clear on this. You identified an issue, you approached the event, and it was rectified?
Yes.
Okay. And you're confident that if we did have another issue this year, you'd be able to identify it quickly through your continuous checks, and this would not become anything that would impact the safety of the event?
Yeah, once it was identified, it was immediately remedied. It didn't continue throughout the event. They've pledged to not offer that again, and the relationship with the organizer, his team, as well as the security staff has been established for several years now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Chief Moore? Any questions for the petitioner? Any motions to make? Commissioner Douglas?
I'll move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Douglas. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Macy. All right, discussion? A little bit the same as last time, right? So call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. All right. That brings us to item 10, which Chief Moore has been waiting to, no, I'm just kidding. So thank you, Chief Moore. Appreciate all your help. Appreciate the PD's help looking into the matters and being prepared tonight to talk about them. That brings us to item 10 tonight, which is adjournment. So notwithstanding anything for the betterment, empowerment, or uplifting of our community, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. A motion by Commissioner Douglas, or a second? Second by Commissioner Herzog. All right, any robust discussion on this motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't think about it. Stalled.
Yes, Mayor, the business of the people of Royal Oak having been concluded tonight, in case there's any further discussion, I'm happy to support this motion.
Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner Douglas. Anybody else?
I want some longer.
All right. In that case, I'm going to call for the vote immediately. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Adjourned.
And